Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Bruce Leslie, and I'm president of First Focus on Children. And I'm here today with my colleague Avery Pakulis, who's the vice president for early childhood and public health policy. And so we welcome all of you on both Facebook and YouTube. We're really pleased today to welcome one of our most favorite members of Congress, an amazing champion for children, Rosa DeLauro. She is the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, Congresswoman from the Connecticut's 3rd Congressional District, and just literally a superstar in the eyes of all child advocates. For a little background for our friends joining us today is just pretty much on any issue that we work on. When it comes to, we hosted the Congresswoman a few years ago at our Children's Budget Summit as one of our leading champions for children, or our leading champion for children. Amazing, leader on issues relating to budget and appropriations issues. And if you talk about childcare in this country or in this town, everyone knows that the go-to person again is Congresswoman DeLauro. And paid family medical leave, just on issue after issue. But today, what we'd really like to, we'll talk a little bit about those issues, but what we'd really like to focus on is another really critical issue, which is the issue of child poverty, and basically providing supports for families across this country to care for their children. And the Congresswoman has worked on legislation for 18 years and done an incredible job building support for that, and including introducing bills, but also getting funding for a National Academy of Sciences study that was really instrumental to helping us push this across the finish line. And that piece of legislation is called the American Family Act, and that legislation was adopted by President Biden as part of the American relief. What is it?
The rescue plan, American Rescue Plan.
I just lost my mind for a second. Yes, and so anyway, that has been just to us is historic. Many years ago we worked with you on sort of thinking about ways to cut child poverty in half, and here we are. And so, just anyway, I wanted to turn it over to you and tell us a little bit about a journey for you and all the great work you've done on combating child poverty in this country.
First of all, thank you so much. How wonderful it is to be with you, Bruce, and I thank you for your introduction. And I think it's an opportunity for us to talk about a historic opportunity that we have. This is the child tax credit is a lifeline to the middle class, and it cuts child poverty in half. And we are even looking at numbers where it goes over the halfway mark in terms of child poverty. I want to say a thank you to you for your partnership, for your leadership, and so delighted to be working with you. And my heart is there with you, Avery. My God, it's so good to see you. And it's kind of like come full circle. And I'm going to ask about your mom. I mean, listen, I know this is family, Bruce, so, and your daughters. So it's really so delightful. And Avery worked with Senator Dodd and worked with me. So again, and just, the policy focus on early childhood and public health policy. I don't think that there's anything that's more important here. And just a note about, I think First Focus has helped to play such a crucial role in helping us to secure the National Academies of Sciences panel to study how to cut child poverty in half. I am excited to say that, and two of my colleagues, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, California, and Congresswoman Lucille Roybal Allard, California as well, and they came and wanted to put in an amendment into labor HHS. They said, yes, we passed the amendment, got the study. And it really has been the data and the science on which we have been able to launch forward, that this is just not some sort of a knee-jerk reaction. This is not just anecdotal, but we are based in hard science on the child tax credit and its ability to be transformative in the lives of families. And in the same way that Franklin Roosevelt with Social Security lifted 90% of our seniors out of poverty, the child tax credit, and with the stroke of a pen, President Biden will lift millions of children out of poverty. So I view it as Social Security for kids. So I'm so excited to be with you. And I'm going to enlist you. I'm going to say it right at the top. I am now, on campaigns are all about multiple contacts, What I need now are multiple contacts because we need to make this permanent. In the American Rescue Plan, it's for a year. It needs to be made permanent. So I need your entire network on the phone, calling, writing to the White House to tell them that it has to be made permanent. And in the American Families Plan, which is going to come out in fairly short order, probably next week, so people have to mobilize immediately, we need to have the full weight of folks to make sure that this is permanent.
That's fantastic. And I just go back to the American Rescue Plan now that I remember its name. I just wanted to highlight, and I think our the people who are watching today really need to know this full story, which wasn't in the initial plan, and it really shows the importance of having a amazing champion for children, because I think the call that has been very clear that the call you made was fundamental to this, and also work that some of your colleagues, Congresswoman Del Bene and
yes, Richard
and then also Senators Bennett and Brown and Booker, and really getting that in. And so do you want to tell us a little bit about that,
sure.
and even a little bit about kind of what this does for families across this country?
Sure. No, I would be happy to. And, the journey began legislatively back in 2003 when the then chair of the Budget Committee, John Spratt, I talked to him about wanting to do an amendment about expanding the child tax credit. And he just said, go for it, Rosa. And I did. And we lost. We were in the minority, so we lost on a party line vote. And therein, the journey began to build the coalition and the interest. And for a while, it was not a question of opposition on a child tax credit. It was a question of indifference, to be very honest with you. And early on, somebody like Newt Gingrich had even proposed a child tax credit of $500, but then pulled back on that. So it has been an issue for a number of years. But I took up the issue because for me, it was, I've told this story many times now. I was 9 or 10 years old. My family fell on hard financial times. My family struggled financially, really for all of their lives. And we came home one Friday night, and all of our furniture was out on the street. We had been evicted, and we had to go live with my grandmother for a while until we could get back on our feet again. And it's not because my parents were not working. They're not working as hard as they could. People fall on difficult times. And what this, a child tax credit can do for people to help them lift themselves out of difficult situations and move, get back, back to economic security. So I took up this cause, being in the Congress, and worked with my colleagues, with the Speaker of, for early on, the child tax credit, had an income threshold. I think it was $11,000 at the time. So that, people who needed it the most couldn't get access to it. And we had a child tax credit in this country in which there were people who made too little money to be able to get access. And those folks were minimum wage families. And, most minimum wage workers are women. There were large families with kids, families with a large number of children, families of veterans, rural families, etc. So the notion of trying to expand and to improve the tax credit was something that I focused my attention on. And, along the way, Speaker Pelosi has been joined at the hip with me on this. from the outset. And I think when Sandy Levin and Charlie Rangel would see me coming, they would walk the other way because they say, we know, Rosa, it's the child tax credit. And just a brief anecdote, Congressman Rangel called me 2 or 3 weeks ago just to say, my God, he said, congratulations. He says, I know how hard you worked on that, which was so lovely, I mean, because I would go to Charlie, because this is a Ways and Means issue. I don't sit on the Ways and Means Committee. And now we do have the speaker who is full throttle, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Richie Neal, full throttle. And what happened was, I'd been being told when the pandemic hit, it exacerbated and shown a brighter light on childhood poverty. Child poverty has been endemic in the United States, and the United States, unlike other countries, has not focused its resources on children in the way that Britain and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and others have. So what been tried to do in the early CARES packages was to insert the child tax credit in the American Families Act. And that was Bennett and Brown, Del Bene, and myself. And since that time, Senator Booker is on and Congressman Richie Torres is on the legislation. And so the 6 of us are trying to work together. But I was told during the CARES packages days that we don't have the Senate. We don't have the White House. We're not going to be able to get it through. But every single one of those relief bills tried, like you know what, to get it into the bill, unsuccessfully. A break came with the HEROES Act. And I might say, and Avery will love this, when the president was a candidate, we got information to Senator Dodd, and Senator Dodd called Jake Sullivan, and talked about this, et cetera. We got them a lot of information. Well, lo and behold, the American Family Act was present in the Biden Build Back Better. The full tax credit was in there. So really excited about that. So when in December, as I said, it was in the HEROES bill, but then we couldn't win it in the Senate. So fast forward, when this package was going to go out, I got word over the weekend that the child tax credit was not in it. So I just did what you do in campaigns. You get on the phone, you organize, and I phone banked, the White House. I talked to Ron Klain, Steve Ricchetti, Brian Deese, Susan Rice, Jared Bernstein, Jeff Zients, everyone. Called the senators, called Susan and Richie, with a full court press. I finally said, I said, look, everybody's been telling me we can't get it through. We can't get it through because we don't have the Senate and we don't have the presidency. Well, we do. Now it's our watch. Let's go. Some will say I use stronger language than that, but nevertheless. But I want to tell you that I had willing partners. I mean, in all fairness, it wasn't 24, 48 hours later, 36 hours later, they came back and said, it's in. It's in. Yeah. My God, and it is transformative, and I hope not to repeat myself here, but we went to the Oval Office to talk about the rescue package, and the president and the vice president were sitting under the portrait of Franklin Roosevelt. Well, my God, what a legacy to leave, something that's so transformative that 90% of our children would have access to the same monthly payments. And it is for children 6 to 17, it's $3,000, $250 a month per child. For kids under 6, it is a $3,600 credit, $300 a month per child per month. So it is a lifeline. And as I said, it's a lifeline to middle-class families. It cuts child poverty in half. And it, again, like Social Security, it helps the working poor, working people. It helps the poor and it helps middle-class families, which is the buy-in that we need in order to have transformative legislation. And I will just tell you the numbers, and I'm waiting to get new numbers, but the numbers as they are staggering. Over 55% of youngsters, that's a new number, can be lifted out of poverty. Asian American Pacific Islander child poverty is cut 37%, Black child poverty 52%, Hispanic child poverty 45%, white child poverty 38, almost 37%, Native American child poverty almost 62%. Why would we not want to make this permanent? Why? It has to be permanent. It really takes this country. This is the architecture for the future. I'm sorry to go on so long. It is the architecture for the future. I am for the $1,400 payments. I'm for the $300 a month. Those will go away.
Yep.
That will go away. The child tax credit is then baked into law here, and they cannot take it away. As Richie Neal pointed out, chair of the Ways and Means Committee, it's harder to take something out of the tax code than it is to put into the tax code. Yeah. So that is the story. And now I'm on the same trajectory about making it permanent. So making the phone calls, reaching out, and doing what we have to do.
That is awesome. And just so you know, we are 100% behind you on that. We've led a sign-on letter for national, state, and local organizations across the country. We're over 200 groups already and counting. And as you well know, because of your strong leadership on this issue, the state of Connecticut actually has the most signees of the state groups, and so you have a lot of support back home for this, and we're just thrilled. And we also did a poll, electioneering poll that to let you know about support for the American Family Act, and we described it to people, and it had the support of the American people by 71 to 18% level. Wow. So overwhelming support, and you can see like among Democrats, independents, and Republicans.
Right,
so
right.
Really strong support for your legislation and making it permanent. So, so with that, I'll turn it over to Avery, and she can ask the next question.
Hey, Avery.
Rosa, thank you so much. It's really great to see you. I used to work for you, and now I'm a constituent of yours. It literally has come full circle. So thank you. So I kind of know part of the answer to my next question because it has to do with your hard work. And I think I always tell people that want to know that working for you is hard work. We worked very hard, but it was so rewarding because you were working hard. Somehow you were working harder than every single person on the staff. We thought we were working hard, and you beat us every time. So it's incredibly rewarding. And I know that's probably half the story of how we are in the place we're at right now on the child tax credit, on paid leave, and childcare. And these just were not issues that a few years ago there was sort of what we're now seeing this groundswell of support for. And so you talked about this a little bit. You talked about how when you started this, there was more indifference than opposition. But I guess, what are some of the puzzle pieces that came together to change that indifference? Yeah. Indifference could just keep going, right? But how did you change the pendulum swing on that?
Yeah, no, it's a very, very good question, Avery. And first of all, I want to just say a note about Connecticut. Do you know Sean Scanlon in the legislature in Connecticut just introduced the child tax credit in Connecticut, and to which I submitted testimony. So go Connecticut. But yes, I think that the pandemic has so much to do with this, Avery, because child poverty has existed. We have known that, and we have tried over and over and over again to mitigate against it. What could we do? How could we make the changes that were necessary? But what really exacerbated child poverty was the pandemic, and so that it amplified the need, if you will, it amplified the urgency for expanding and improving it, and so that it gave us, and it being in that HEROES Act, which was a turning point because it was there. It was also a turning point when the then candidate Biden had it in his platform to move forward of recognizing this issue and the importance of it, and the permanent changes that could be made by lifting kids out of poverty. And this generation and those that follow became acute in the understanding of the force of this. And it is now, we fought for so many years to get it recognized, to push it, to move it. And now it is at the center of public discourse. And so much of that is the changing environment, the change in the people who are involved. And this is why I say, my mom taught me, you never give up and you don't take no for an answer. And that's what this is about. So we met the moment, if you will. The moment arose and we were ready to utilize this and to take it up. And I think it has had such an explosion of support. Witness the poll, and I'd love to get those numbers from you. And it's also an issue of racial equality and equity, because people are, today focused on the disparities that exist in our society, and the health disparities, the economic disparities, and the child tax credit is a very tangible way to build a more equitable society.
Well, Congresswoman, thank you so much. I know we don't want to keep you from doing the amazing work that you always do for kids. And thank you so much for being always there for kids, being such a great champion. And we stand at your ready to support you in any way we can. And so we're working on the letter of support, and really appreciate your call to our audience to make phone calls to the White House and to the Congress to support making this permanent. And again, it's historic. And if we can really, solidify this and make it a permanent thing in our government, the lives of kids will be vastly improved by cutting child poverty.
I just say to you, thank you again for what you do, because what you do, it's not about the politics. It's not about partisan. It is about the strength for me, the strength of this institution. This institution, the Congress, has the power to do this. I guess it was Lyndon Johnson said, if you have the power and don't use it, why have it? So this is why we need to stretch and push the edge of the envelope of this institution. And you have been there to help us do it. And I'm going to count on your support for helping to get us over the finish line. So thank you. Love you. And just take care.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too. So I just wanted to wrap up and thank everyone for being here today. And we really appreciate the Congresswoman and all she's working on. And again, we would ask our audience to definitely weigh in and call your members of Congress and ask them to make the child tax credit permanent in this next package or in a forthcoming package in the near future. So she talked about the American Family Act. And so that would be an enormous change for children in this country. So thank you very much and have a good rest of your day.